You boomers, let me just rebuke you all. You are retiring and moving away from your children and abandoning them and not being generous toward them and not helping them. And when you die, you're not even including them in your estate. You despise your God and your children. You're an entirely greedy generation that loves money and power. It's just disgusting. Somebody's like, I'm the exception. Well, then tell the other guys to stop. How shameful is it that children are outgiving parents? Let me say, when you get to be my age, you're making usually more than your 20-something kid who's just getting started. And they're outgiving you. Millennials, born 1981 to 1996, giving per household has increased 22% as of 2024 and has surpassed Gen X, that's me, born 1965 to 1980. Millennials also report attending religious services more frequently, of course, and 90% of millennials consider charitable giving essential. What this means is kids are out giving their parents. Should the rich give more than the poor in the church? Yes. Should the older saints who are supposed to be more mature give more than the younger saints? Yes. The least likely person to give, an older, rich Christian man, the least likely person to give. Don't just get angry about the government and the liberals and everybody who's racking up the national debt. First, just get a mirror and see how that guy's doing. See how that gal's doing. Before you do plank spec and start telling the universe and the government what to do, ask God, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I don't know about you. I don't want somebody who is greedy trying to judge everyone else for being like them.
I'm starting to not have sympathy for the boomers. I'm really not. Best job market ever, best stock market in the history of the world. Every single boomer that's been on my show, they lived it up and spent all their money to live the lifestyle they wanted, and they didn't even set 10% aside a month. They had the best housing market, college, jobs. They were set up for everything. If they just put 5 to 10% a month aside in the stock market that they had, they would be multimillionaires.
If you were 25 in 1990 and made an average U.S. salary for 40 years, saving 5 to 10% per month in the S&P 500, they would have around $2 to $5 million. This is how crazy inflation is. The average salary in 1990 was $21,000.
Really even still, they could retire multimillionaires.
It's still up.
Even still, even with that.
Yep.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hold that thought. I have to take a leak.
Yeah, here you go.
I'm sorry, but boomers ruined the economy for us. Boomers will say, just work hard and you'll be able to buy a house. When they bought a house, it was $40,000. College was cheap, rent was cheap, groceries were even cheaper. Now rent is like $1,800 for a studio apartment, but somehow we're just magically supposed to save money. Like, genuinely, how are we supposed to get ahead in this economy? Back then, you could support a family on one income. You could buy a house working at Sears full-time, but now that just seems so unattainable. Budgeting in America in 2026 is basically survival at this point. You literally have to have a budget. You literally have to know where every single dollar of your money is going. This year I started using the Mine app and forced myself to make a budget because I literally was having no money left over after rent and groceries and other bills, stressing me out so much. Do I have a ton left over now? No. But I at least know where it's going. If you're struggling in 2026, I promise you, you are not alone.
Y'all take a look at this.
I think one of the biggest flaws that the boomer generation has is they have a real hard time believing a reality that exists outside their own lived experience. If it didn't happen to them, their family, their neighbor, their coworker, it's almost as if it doesn't exist in the real world. And I see this a lot in my comment section. If a boomer disagrees with me, they very rarely ever write, hey, Freddie, I disagree with you. I think this take is better. Look at this Forbes article. Look at this MIT survey. It's almost always, you're wrong because when I graduated college, when I got married, when my husband lost his job, when we raised kids, it's almost like they can't prescribe a solution outside their lived experience. That's why when you see a Gen Z or millennial filming their parents talking about the housing prices or rent, and they say, well, how am I supposed to save? Rent is $1,700. They get this look on their face like they can't believe what you just said because they've never seen $1,700 in their real life. They've only seen $200, $500. Their mortgage was $600, $700. So they instantly write it off because it questions the bubble they've built. There's 70 million boomers inside a globe that they've spent 60, 70, 80 years building, and they're protecting it with their life.
Boomers come from a generation where, for them, things were absolutely easier. Things made sense. You didn't have a bunch of technocrats and all these other companies trying to just pillage the world for as much money as possible. Things made sense. You could work a job as a boomer, save up for about 3 or 4 years, and then go and get a house. everything made sense. I understand why they think that way, because that is what they know. They made it happen with what they had. We live in a day and age where we understand AI. We have AI tools. We have things. It has never been easier. In today's day and age, you literally can become a rich person in 1 fucking year. But as far as us having the ability to go and work a regular ass job and be able to buy a house, those days are dead. And boomers will never understand that. They look at you like you're speaking a different language. But also, they don't understand AI tools. They don't understand what do you mean cryptocurrency? You can get rich with one right play, you can just get rich. They don't understand that shit. So honestly, when you look at it like that, it's almost fair. I say it just needs to get a little bit better when it comes to buying a house.
$6,000 checks to senior citizens. They don't need money. They have all the money. They have all the homes. They're not selling them. It costs $750,000 to get a townhome in DC. Families can't afford. Townhomes are for families. They're for new families, actually. And they're supposed to be affordable. But now they're $750,000 because the boomers aren't selling their multiple homes. You know, in California, there's this interesting dynamic where there was a lawsuit that was challenging whether or not you could do property tax freezes for senior citizens. They were arguing, the people that were challenging it were saying this is age discrimination. You can't give them a different set of rules than the rest of us. And the courts obviously ruled in favor of the boomers because the judges are all boomers. But it's insane that we are freezing property taxes for these boomers who got their homes for 8 raspberries and a blueberry and a horse. They've had so much appreciation in the value of their properties. It's skyrocketed. Why do they get tax relief when working the burden and the tax burden and the onus is all on young families. And we need to start reversing this. If we don't start reversing this, young people are not going to get married.
We literally cannot do that. That is what we are trying to tell you. That is what we have been trying to tell boomers for decades now at this point. The economy that you had, the economy that was handed to you, is not the economy that you handed to us. The economy that you were given was gobbled up and consumed by you, by the boomer generation, and you all decided to leave nothing for the generations behind you. Your parents didn't do that. Your grandparents didn't do that, but boomers did that. Boomers have been catered to for their entire lives. Our entire economic system has been centered around boomers since they were born. When they were born, we had a huge baby boom. That's why they're called boomers. Guess when we got a whole bunch of brand new schools in this country? When baby boomers were starting to go to school. Guess when we got a whole bunch of housing in this country? When baby boomers were starting to buy houses. And then comes the 80s with Reagan and all of your fantastic politics that brought us to where we are today, where you destroyed any sort of media regulation so that now anything can call themselves news and not have any repercussions. You don't have to have any sort of balanced news sources. You robbed Social Security to pay for all of the cuts that Reagan did in the 80s. You deregulated all of the industries so all of the corporations and all of the industries could make even more money off the backs of people that were actually working for that money and for that company. And now you're senior citizen age, your Social Security age, and you're worried about Social Security. And that's all anybody can talk about now is Social Security, when you are the ones that robbed Social Security in the 80s in order to pay for all of that shit that happened and left nothing for anybody else behind you. And you are trying to tell us that we can do it just like you did when you were 20 years old or whatever, when you bought your first starter home. It's not the same. It is not the same today as it was when you were young, and it is directly because of you and your actions and what you have done to this economy, period.
I'm exceptionally tired of this, super elder Gen X, younger boomer take, forgetting just how good they had it. Their income level compared to their cost of living was absurd. Okay, so story time. I lived in West Pennsylvania for just shy of a year. Okay, little town northwest of Pittsburgh. And I used to talk, these were some of the most, some of the sweetest people, but at the same time, some of the most decrepit and disconnected from reality human beings I have ever met. Just the most, just in that way that only a curmudgeonly elder Gen X or boomer can be. I was talking to this guy one day. This is 2007. Okay, this dude's in his, at the time, mid-40s. And he's talking about how he wants to vote in the people that are going to bring back manufacturing jobs. Let's forget the fact that this is not happening. No one's bringing back manufacturing jobs. It's not happening. It's a dream. It's a fantasy land that they're still buying, right? They're still buying it today in 2024. They were absolutely still buying it through the 90s and the 2000s. This guy worked at a factory, and these are the numbers he told me. I happened to look these numbers up yesterday to make sure that they were true. Walking in off the street, a high school kid could get, what was it? Shy of $11 an hour, which is like in the low $30 an hour, today's money.
Right.
He was a floor supervisor. I want to say he made like $16, $17 an hour. He was 22 at the time in 1990 at a factory as a floor, like a sort of like, I guess the way that he said it worked is you get in and there's like an area supervisor, and then he made like a floor supervisor. And in this factory, there were like 10 or 11 of them.
Okay.
Floor supervisors was something like $14 an hour, and he made like 16 or 17 bucks an hour. That's $48 an hour in today's money.
That's still
Let's
great
forget
money.
the fact
Back then,
that everything was
phenomenal
cheaper
money.
then.
Right.
So not only is this like 22-year-old with no high school education able to find a job where even at the entry level, he's making like $30 an hour in change.
Bruh.
At 22, this guy is making the modern equivalent of $48 an hour.
You can't even fathom.
Everything's half the cost
Right.
comparatively. I'm not even talking about based on inflation. Everything they have to buy is half the cost. Like at the time, I want to say the numbers were like the average house was like twice his annual salary, maybe a little
And they
more than
still-
that.
and they
Today,
still get senior citizen
it's like
discount.
10 times the average person, 11 times the average person's salary. And these are the same people
Yep.
telling you that you are not working hard enough, that they were able to do it on their entry-level job. So if you're not doing it, you're just fucking lazy.
Yeah, that's wicked.
These people are so fundamentally disconnected from reality at large. They're like in a
Yo, he really
boomer
mad.
conservative like virtual reality game where like because they've already gotten theirs, because their investments have already flourished, because they're already at the top of the food chain, like they don't even realize how much more money they earned and have access to. Like it's lost on them that they have like 2-3 times more money than the comparable 60-year-olds in their day. But somehow they think that there's just this unending potential access towards the same wealth that they had access to while being given everything on a fucking silver platter. And I'm so tired of this shit. It's beyond fucking exhausting. These people, in terms of when they were born and had access to the ability to earn, these dummies were born on third base and thought they hit a triple. And
It's a good analogy. Yep.
I'm at my wit's end.
Yeah, he really pissed.
I have boomer parents, and so I have this whole like rhetoric that boomer parents hate their kids because there's no way you decided to have children later in life. You know, my parents been old since I was born, and the times I would do my homework or ask for help, they wouldn't help me. Or if I really didn't understand a math question and they explained it just one time and I got it wrong, they would like beat my ass at the dinner table.
That's
like
another thing, yeah.
it was like traumatic. I remember when I would like go hang out at my friend's house, they would drop me off and then they would like call the house phone of like the other parent and say, hey, like, can I talk to Bambi? And then I would answer him like, oh, hey, dad, what's up? And then my dad would be like, you got to tell those people to bring you back home because I'm not picking you up. What the actual hell? Like, if I were the parents of my friends, I would be like, this little girl has to figure it out on her own. I'm not like leaving like my comfortable space because her dad doesn't want to pick her up. I would do a lot of like after school activities and I would always be the last one to be picked up. He would be like, oh, I'll be there in 3 minutes. 3 minutes turned into like 2 hours. And I always felt for like the teacher that would like wait with me. You know what I mean? I'm convinced that boomers hated being parents or did not want to parent. And anytime I would act up, or voice an opinion, my father would be like, oh, you have a roof over your head, you have food, you have this, like, don't ever call me a bad parent. And I'm like, that's the bare minimum. That's like what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to keep me alive. I'm like basically like your pet that you decided one day to like have. And I low-key feel like they wanted something bad to happen so they didn't have to like have the responsibility, because maybe they figured out like, you know what, like I am old, I shouldn't be having like kids at this age, like I want to enjoy my life and retire. And that's something like my dad would always like consistently say, like, because you guys are in this world, I can't do certain things. My parents are like in their like mid 70s and like early 70s, so like I'm 30, so I don't know, now that they're old, sometimes I don't have any empathy for them, because I just try to think of my childhood and how little they gave a fuck about me. So I'm not sure if anyone else feels this type of way or had like a similar experience with like weird ass parents.
I think the boomers, most of them, I think, are all narcissists, man. I really think and feel as if like narcissists, but I also think they've been lying to themselves for so long they really believe the lie. You know what I'm saying? How can you look at how expensive things are in today's economy and still say you're just not working hard enough with every ounce of evidence in front of them? I don't know if it's called professional gaslighting, narcissistic behavior, or whatever you want to call it, but they are the problem and have always been the problem. And once the problem is removed, we'll be much better off. Now, you can take that how you want to take it. I'm not saying it how you think I'm saying it, whichever way that may be. But employment, mortgages, interest rates, new cars, health insurance, gas, groceries, clothing prices. The Dollar Tree is now $1.50 tree now. Just the small stuff, bro. I mean, at some point, you got to call a strike and a ball, man. They running us to the ground. They are running us to the ground, and we're literally just watching it happen. We ain't going to be able to vote our way out of this. How are we going to handle this going forward? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, one of my clients, she owns 4 houses. She has one in North Carolina, one in Minnesota, Rochester, Minnesota, one in Florida, and the other is in, I think, the one is on Boca Raton, Florida, and the other one is in like Texas. I want to say Austin, Texas, or whatever. 4 houses, bro. She go on a vacation once a week every month. Part-time teacher, by the way, for 30 years. Part-time. 4 houses. Tell me who really benefiting from this shit. Hey, yo, Bassel TV. I'm going to see y'all on the next one. Peace.